What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, coming at you with another review. This is a Ditko review. I haven't done a book of Ditko in a sec. And this is the creativity of Ditko, and it's kind of hard to get this whole book on the camera because it is so huge. This is one of Craig Yohe's books on Ditko, and he did two sort of oversized premium volumes like this of Ditko's work. The first is called The Art of Ditko, and I read that, and I was that's what really got me hooked on a lot of Ditko's work. And so I wasn't sure what this was. I thought this might have just been a different art book or whatever, so I resisted getting it for a sec. But then I learned there were a bunch more short stories that Ditko did in the 70s, which were not collected anywhere else, and so that's why I got this. So for those who want to collect all of Ditko's short works, I'll probably do a whole video on that at some point of what's out there for you to look at, because I've done a ton of research on this for you guys. But you can get The Art of Ditko, The Creativity of Ditko, the Marvel Masters of Suspense series, and then Fantagraphics has a book of archives. And then you've got a very good breadth of his work as a collection, which is what I wanted. And beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love this oversized art all the way around. It's huge. I should mention how big it is compared to a standard hardcover. This is the Roy Rogers hardcover from Hermes Press. I will show you as a difference. So that's the standard hardcover of standard books compared to the size of this. And so it's a little big to even show on here. And these are all sort of suspense stories. You get different essays about Ditko. And what's interesting about all the essays about Ditko is all these people are like, I didn't know him very well, but, I really respected his art, and he wanted the art to speak for himself. And that is the MO of Ditko. He really did. He wanted his art to be known, not him to be known. And so it starts out with a couple reprints that have been seen a few times before in different collections. The ones it's got a handy marker down here and what volume it was and when it actually came out. And the ones from the 1950s are also in the Fantagraphics book, so I've read those before. This is actually one of the better ones. So he picked a good collection of this. This director of the board one then skips to 1966, and we get into this is the post-Spider-Man era of Ditko. It skips back again. The Mirage is a really good story again, which I've read a couple times. Same with this Menace of the Invisibles. You see Ditko's works from the 50s right here. Ditko's work in the 50s was almost a little formulaic in the way it went. You always had these like reaction shots like this. You had these extreme close-up of eyes where he does these emotional grabs. And then they have a different character narrating the stories, depending on what volume it is. And this is one of them. There's a mysterious traveler guy also. And that's what happened in those 50 stories for the most part. I love this Out of This World cover. This is so cool. If you just see the floating into this weird space. Very, very nicely thematically done. Back into the 60s, so this has also been collected stuff. So I'm glitzing over this a little bit because of that. More essays on Ditko, and then we get into some later stuff. So Ditko worked on this one called The Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves, which this Dr. Graves is a character, and he's also a narrator. It's kind of a weird thing. I'd be interested in reading more of this series, just based on what I've read here, and this is all I've read of that is what's in the Ditko thing. And he went into this strange world where there's nothing there. Except for him, he's kind of floating around. And he's very much like Doctor Strange in that he astrally projects himself. So that's a common theme right there. They probably wanted to capitalize off of Ditko's Doctor Strange work at that point. And then we get into the 70s. And most of these are from the 70s here. And they're just horror stories from the 70s that Ditko did. And you see that his style's really progressed. He's got a lot more variance in what he's doing in the panel work. He's got a lot more cool backgrounds going on. This is post-Spider-Man, post-Doctor Strange. And he does these cool things. You see the little ghost and the way this is designed as it's approaching the person. Now you can see right through it. What a cool effect right there. This is unique stuff. Love it. Yeah. And like I said, the 50s work was a little stiffer, and then he's really developed into different stuff at this point. Get some more ancient sarcophagus sort of stories right here. Very cool. And then there's a weird story in here by, who's this? I forget who this is. by Amber Stanton. And Amber Stanton is the daughter of another famous artist. What is his name? It's something Stanton. Eric Stanton. There we go. And Eric Stanton was he got into erotic art more than anything else. And so he shared a studio with Ditko for a while. And then Ditko got really upset with the erotic art, and he didn't want to be associated with him anymore because he just was very opposed to that, which is awesome. I agree. No thoughterry. But I guess Ditko, in theory, inked over some of Stanton's stuff here, and so they collaborated on this a little bit before Ditko kind of decided to put his foot down on that level. And you could tell Stanton's influence here. One thing about Ditko is Ditko does not draw pretty girls. And so some of the girls on this page have much prettier faces than Ditko typically draws. This looks like a very Ditko-esque drawing by contrast. Interesting stuff. But Amber actually in her essay credited her father as being a partial co-creator on Spider-Man, which is a pretty controversial statement. I don't know if that ever happened for real. But he apparently claimed he did some work on that with Steve and helped him with that. Who knows the way these things went back in the day. I love seeing these old photographs of Ditko and all that in here also. Just so much cool stuff. We get into more horror stuff. And again, there's just horror short stories. And I love seeing the progression of Ditko's work into the 70s and just how good he's gotten as an artist compared to his early work at the beginning of the volume here. Just so much expressiveness, so many varied panels and difference. Just the storytelling elements of this are phenomenal. And get a wax museum story, and these have a lot. Some of them are kind of similar to other short stories at the time. We get a weird narrator here. This is from Ghostly Haunts in '72. I hadn't seen her before, so Ditko, like I said, did the Mysterious Traveler narrator, but I don't know who she is. And this is actually a pretty good story right here. This is pretty fun. To Tlack Cluck. This is a very good story. I don't know who wrote these either. But you actually get some really cool variants in the way this looks. You see the aircraft fighters, the way this is laid out to actually, and the colors and the way that this is not traditionally laid out, but is kind of all in one swoop, just to show the speed and the craziness of battle and air battle, especially. Very neat stuff right there. I love the way that this one's colored. And that has a cool little interesting twist at the end of that one also. Now, this might be the coolest and most interesting part of the volume right here, and this is called Fantasy Master. And this is something Ditko never finished or never developed. And you get into this, and it's just pencils here. And there's a whole fantasy story right here, and they want you as the reader to roll a dice as you read it and skip to different pages and skip to different panels depending on what your dice roll was, because your dice roll will affect the storyline. And that's an early choose-your-own-adventure sort of concept. I love this. I kind of want to do one of these myself now. That's pretty slick and pretty cool. It didn't get all the way developed. We just had a rough of it, and then I know there's a guy in the Steve Ditko forums that actually inked a couple of those pages, and they talked about maybe completing that. I guess that never happened, which is sad. I would have liked to read that. We get another Ghostly Haunt story with our female narrator here. I guess they were trying to get a Vampirella style out of this. And then Satan's Night Out. This is a very weird story, but also very cool. Very different than the other stuff. And then, let's see, the deepest cut of all right here. There's a Jack the Ripper story, which is a very bizarre Jack the Ripper story also. And it goes back into bizarrely after this. Werewoods is another fun one with some cool. You get these trees that actually move their limbs and are very creepy in the way that Ditko drew them. After this, though, oddly, it bookends the book with another 1958 story, The Doorway into Tomorrow, which I've read before, and one other. There's one extra story from This Magazine is Haunted, Faceless Ones. And I found it odd that it went back into 1958 to bookend the series. It's like, why did those get put in there? I guess it's nice to read those again, but seeing the progression then going back again just didn't really make sense at the end of the book for me. Didn't really need those. They could have cut it because I've seen those stories before elsewhere, But, you know, whatever. It's always fun to read extra stuff. This is a great coffee table book. I'm leaving both of these, The Art of Ditko and Creativity of Ditko, on my coffee table as coffee table books. So it's huge. It's beautiful. I love reading the art. This is just a wonderfully compiled thing of just cool stuff. I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. Great fun. All right. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know if you've read this, what you think of it. And if not, you know, hopefully you can go pick it up. I know it's not all that hard to find. So I will see you guys soon.